What's going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and it's always a beautiful thing when heavily rumored games get heavily confirmed by their publisher, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. Just yesterday, EA had a conference call with its investors revealing its upcoming lineup of games, and it is full of awesomeness. First off, they talked on their nearest release, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which is releasing in May. We know plenty about that. I've played it. It seems like it should be good. A more open-world take on Mirror's Edge with hopefully another cool story and tight mission design, as well as awesome controls and not too much motion sickness. But what's more interesting are the other games that were highlighted in this call. So they mentioned EA Sports titles. We know that's coming, but here is where things start to get good, and we'll go from, in my opinion, least exciting to most exciting. So they revealed that DICE will be making a new Battlefield game that will launch during the 2016 holiday season. I don't think that's much of a surprise to anyone, but it's good to just pen that one in to your calendar that, hey, there is a new Battlefield, probably Battlefield 5, unless they choose to go with some other sort of offshoot like Bad Company or whatnot, but I'm assuming Battlefield 5, and hopefully they've learned their lesson from Battlefield 4 and can deliver a sound experience. DICE is busy as all heck lately. Obviously, they just put out Battlefront, which was revealed to ship over 13 million copies, which is, holy crap, a Death Star load of Battlefront, and I think it's a good thing. That game may not necessarily have the most content, but I thought it was fun, and I like the fact that DICE was rewarded for doing something besides the traditional war shooter in Battlefield, and that they didn't just skin Battlefield and bring it to Star Wars. They try to do something different, even if it's not exactly your cup of tea. It's always good to see developers deviate from the norm a little bit and not just recycle ideas, and I like the fact that it sold well, and hopefully we get another Battlefront game soon, because they also talked about how they cannot break canon. Part of their deal with Lucasfilms and Disney is that they cannot break canon for Battlefront, and so they are unable to bring Force Awakens characters back to the time of the New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi trilogy, and that's why you won't see guys like Kylo Ren or Finn alongside Luke and Vader, because it wouldn't make canonical sense, and therefore they cannot do it. So that is what I initially thought. A lot of people were wondering if maybe EA just skipped out on the Force Awakens characters because they wanted to make another game in the future and charge twice for Battlefront rather than giving you one giant package. But alas, it seems to be the other possibility, which is that Disney is so darn weird now with the license that they would not allow for them to combine the different trilogies in any fashion, and that's why we have nothing from the Clone Wars, nothing from the future timeline at all. It's all has to reside within that 4, 5, 6 timeline, which is kind of a bummer, but at least they're updating it. They just released their January update, which had snow outfits for Luke and Leia, as well as repurposing one of the survival maps for a lot of the multiplayer modes, and balance tweaks and whatnot. We'll be getting Season Pass content coming up here pretty soon. But back to the new game announcements, or confirmations rather. These were all rumored for a long time. And the next one is Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the next-gen Mass Effect game, which I'm insanely excited for. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. I have a very, very fond memory of that series. One, because Mass Effect 1 I really loved. The time it came out, it was just a really beautiful, big RPG that didn't feel bogged down by a lot of the traditional fantasy tropes. I like the fact that it went sci-fi, it went futuristic, and even though they sort of dumbed down some of those RPG systems for 2, they definitely improved on the character and storyline front, and I loved collecting all of your different compatriots, building up your crew, and then taking your ship into battle at the end of Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 3, a little bit of controversy, to say the least, on that ending, but nonetheless, this is a brand new entry in the Mass Effect universe, so it will obviously not be continuing the storyline from 3. No confirmation yet whether it's before or after. Most people assume it will be before, possibly when humans first encountered aliens, which I think could be a pretty cool premise for a game. Anyways, back to the official news on the game. The call mentioned that Mass Effect Andromeda is coming, quote, later in the fiscal year, which is good news because it means it's coming very soon, within the next 12 to 14 months, and it also means it could hit holiday 2016 or Q1 of 2017. Now, they have used the January and March release dates in the past for the Mass Effect franchise, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them bump this one to the beginning of next year. Depends on the release slate for the end of 2016, what gets delayed, what doesn't get delayed, how development is going. I'm sure that's kind of the primary concern, is where Andromeda is in terms of their dev cycle, but it also will matter what is coming out in October and November of this year in this fall versus what comes out in January, February, March, if they feel like they have a better chance to grab hold of the gamer mindshare in the beginning of 2017 and be like that good winter early year game, an early year game of the year contender, that could be cool. I would prefer it comes out the fall. I always love it when the fall is crazy and full of goodness, but I know that it becomes quite hard for not only the publishers but also people's wallets, so it may be good if they do delay it and kind of space things out. That also gives them separation between Battlefield and their sports titles, and then Mass Effect Andromeda. So I have high hopes for that game. I think it'd be really cool if they utilize the sort of next-gen power to expand the world, make the planets that you travel to even bigger, almost. I don't want it to go MMO in terms of gameplay, but almost MMO in terms of like hub worlds and missions, and I think that would be really awesome, as well as many more characters for you to acquire for your team. Imagine if instead of having, you can pick from these 6 or 7, imagine if they had 20 and you needed to assemble a team of like your favorite 7 or your favorite 8 or your favorite 5 even, or whatever, and kind of pick and choose which aliens and which friends and which heroes, anti-heroes, even villains you wanted to bring on board your ship, and how the different arrangements, the different groupings would shape your adventure and shape your eventual ending and outcome. I think it'd be really cool if they focus on relationships. That's always been a strong point of the Mass Effect franchise. The Paragon system is very, very, very cool. Paragon Renegade, and it seems to be done the best there. I can't think of another game that does it better. Not saying Mass Effect is perfect, but I love the fact that you're able to interject in conversations. You're able to really execute actions based on what side and how you want your character to go. And it's a little more binary than something like Fallout or whatnot, but it seems like it has better payoff in terms of how people react to you and what the eventual endings are. And I hope they really take that all the way here in Mass Effect Andromeda, giving you a bunch of different options for your team. Assuming they go with a team building kind of thing again. They have to go with a sidekick system unless it's a totally different genre, but I'm sure it'll be RPG, and I'm sure you will have side quests. So let us build our side quest crew based on a larger pool of aliens and awesome dudes and dudettes, and then let us go to crazy planets. I'd love a lot more exploration of the universe, as well as the traditional cool gunplay, biotics, and battles. Now, the one that is possibly the most surprising, I guess, not in that it's coming, but when it's coming, is Titanfall 2. I think we all knew that Respawn would try again with Titanfall 2 because Titanfall 1 had a great gameplay loop. It just seemed to fail when extended over a long period of time. I think the controls in Titanfall are fantastic. I think the mechanics and sort of the design idea of Titanfall is fantastic, but part of the problem lied in its longevity and the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of reward or accomplishment when you did well. Part of this was just the way the game was laid out. Part of it was the fact that there was not a whole lot in terms of an upgrade system, very few weapons, and the burn cards and all of that I don't think worked the way they wanted to, and you didn't feel like you were really being rewarded for leveling up, progressing, or even doing well in a match, because it was possible to get so many points from NPC kills and whatnot, and Titan kills and this and that. I would get great scores and never feel satisfied. It didn't have the same, goosebump moment as when you get a 10-kill streak in Call of Duty, or when you finish a round of Black Ops 3 28-2. In Titanfall, you could do really well, and it didn't feel special. Also, the maps were, I think, a bit too big, and I hope that they can refocus their efforts here and bring what was great about Titanfall into a sequel and have sort of that Uncharted 2, Assassin's Creed 2 effect, where they took the first game as the prototype and the second game as the home run. But Titanfall 2 will make, according to EA, fiscal year, which means it's coming before March 31st, 2017. Now, I don't think they would have Battlefield and Titanfall square off in the fall, so I think Titanfall 2 will be moving to 2017, and then maybe that even slides Mass Effect back into 2016 if you're hopeful and more of an RPG space kind of guy or girl. But nonetheless, we are getting a Titanfall 2, which I think is great because they are a new studio. They did amazing with their first project, and now let's see what they can do with the second. I actually really like Titanfall. It makes me want to go back and play. Some of the adjustments they made and the additions to the game were really cool. Some of the later modes that were added via DLC were really fun and engaging, so I can't wait to see what a full Titanfall 2 looks like. And I hope it has a campaign. I think that was a big missing from Titanfall 1, and even though most Call of Duty players stick to multiplayer for the most part, it gives a much better first impression and a lot better publicity and sort of view from gamers if you do have a campaign. Now, do note that EA has a history of no campaign. They are responsible for both Titanfall 1 and the recent Battlefront, which have no campaign to speak of, and both of those games sold a boatload of copies. I believe Titanfall cleared something like 10 million, and I know that Battlefront now has already cleared 13 million, so they have no real sales issues with not including campaign. They always say speak with your wallet, and apparently gamers have not, because both those games sold insanely well. So it would not surprise me if Titanfall 2 goes the multiplayer only route once again. They could use Battlefield 5 as their single player multiplayer sort of complete package, and Titanfall 2 as their multiplayer only game. I know that Titanfall 2 will focus heavily, I bet, on esports and being a competitive game that really locks in and sneaks its tentacles into MLG and all that different stuff. But will it have a single-player campaign? Will it be a story-driven shooter epic, or will it focus exclusively on being a balls-to-the-wall and chock full of content multiplayer experience? Nonetheless, it's super exciting to see that EA is releasing a wide variety of titles and within a pretty close time frame. You've got Mirror's Edge Catalyst, you've got all the sports games, you've got Garden Warfare 2, you've got Mass Effect Andromeda, Battlefield 5, you've got Unravel from and more of their indie branch, and then you'll have Titanfall 2. So a whole lot of stuff, and that's not even what's going to be announced at E3. That's just what we know about and what's coming within the next 12 to 14 months. Also, EA took a step away from sort of the traditional pathway of a lot of other publishers and removed themselves from E3. They will not have the traditional press conference at E3, instead opting for an event they're calling EA Play, which will take place in Los Angeles and London before E3, giving the public a chance to come in and test out games, participate in competitions, watch live streams, meet people, and more. It'll be interesting to see how that all shapes out and how they plan to involve the media and press and YouTubers in their plans now that they will not be part of the big show in the LA Convention Center. And it's kind of a strange thing. I like the fact that they're opening to the public and giving fans a chance to try out some of their new, latest, and greatest games, but it does become weird. You don't want to see E3 become so diluted that you run into another scenario back in whatever year it was, 2007, I believe, when E3 moved to Santa Monica and things got super screwy. Maybe it was 2006 or 2008, and it was all small and spread out, and I like E3 being this mega monstrous show to really trumpet gaming and all the greatness that's coming in the subsequent years, especially when there's new reveals like there will be at this E3 with a console or a handheld from Nintendo, or maybe even both. Nonetheless, EA is doing something unique and cool, and so we'll have to see how that plays out. Let me know which of these games you are most excited for in the comments below. Is it Mass Effect Andromeda, Titanfall 2, Battlefield 5, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, or the EA Play event? Will you be going to Los Angeles or London in June to check out what they've got going on? Let me know in the comments below. I think we'll probably do more of these news type things, at least semi-regularly. The next one will focus on Watch Dogs 2 and Assassin's Creed Egypt. Until that time, though, guys and girls, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Until next time, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. Drink some hot chocolate. We'll see you all later.